a lot of opportunity to work with companies that are interested in something the university is doing. I will frequently have, when we have the CEO of a company, I will have students in the meeting with the CEO. And it gives a student a chance to participate. If you're, for instance, let's say you're a business student or you're an engineer. If you come to that meeting and you're sitting there and you're sitting with the head of a company and you're hearing exactly how a CEO looks at things, and I'm not talking about, you know, just a local company. It can be that, which is beneficial, but it could be the CEO of a very large company. It could be the vice president of General Electric. Is to have the students sitting in a room that you would have difficulty getting in for the next 30 years. But you could do that as a student because of the relationship those people have with the university. And we'd like to help fill those rooms up so that students get to participate in those. You all are getting ready to embark on something at this institution that I think you'll find truly wonderful. The other thing I'd like to share with you is my great appreciation for what I've seen so far in diversity. I hear and see that you are one of the most diverse universities in America. And I think you should celebrate that. If there's nothing out of all the things I've seen and heard about the university that deserves celebrating more, I don't know what it would be. The uniqueness you have differentiates you from my university and every other university around. Those colleagues and friends of yours from diverse backgrounds, places you may never go or see or experiences you never had to get here, will be cherished friends. Most of my friends come from very diverse backgrounds. Very few are born where I'm born. And I would urge that you help us figure out, if I'm selected in this role, how does the university become known as this great university that celebrates diversity? Such a cherished thing for people to think of you that way, that everybody's included here. Everybody's a part of the institution. The other thing I'll talk to you about briefly before I turn over questions is funding. It's a pressure on a lot of students relative to being able to afford college. And we know that that's a challenge. We know that, you know, increasing tuition is not the answer to that challenge. We also know that if the right people are given the opportunity, they are very willing to help fund the next generation to move through an education system as good as FAU. And so part of the job of the president has to be to raise money for scholarships. That should be unquestionably a part of the expectation that this office holds. And there should be a dedicated part of the fundraising campaign, and I believe this university is ready for a large fundraising campaign. My university is doing a $1 billion fundraising campaign right now, and we're at the $750 million mark. From what I understand, you haven't done one in about 10 years, so it's a good time to start raising money for what's next in the wave of important things that ought to come to FAU. And certainly, I'm assuming that that plan would have a large scholarship component. You have a large number of students here, which I think is wonderful. I watched your graduation ceremony online from this past December. You have a large population of students here who you are the first time in the generation that has gone to college. You're first generation students in college. The pride that I got to see with your parents, and not yours, but I mean yours collectively, the students that graduated, as the student that they had cherished so much was now crossing the stage at FAU with a handshake, a personal handshake, and an opportunity that would never have happened had you not participated in what this institution has to offer. So I would be excited to be your president. I would commit to you that I am a tireless worker. I'm a believer in big things, in doing big projects and big ideas. I put a strong team around me. You would have people around you who, they won't be like me, but they will have an attitude of getting things done. And they'll have an attitude of engagement and enjoying the relationships they have with the student body as well as with others. They'll know what the institutional priorities are, And they'll work really hard to make sure those things serve your needs as students.
You were just talking about tuition and making sure that it's not raised, but at Clemson it has been increasing, including in years when salaries are increasing. So I want to know, what are you going to do to ensure that student tuition does not raise unnecessarily, and what experiences fundraising are you going to translate here at FAU that is going to work for FAU?
Good question. My job is not to come here and figure out how to raise your tuition. My job is to come here and figure out how to give more and more of you a chance for an FAU education. And if you think that, we think sometimes, I think too narrowly, that there are only a few sources of money. You know, you either got to get it from the federal government, you got to get it from the state government, or you got to get it from your mama. And there are other sources of money. There are sources of money that we can get from generating revenue, generating things we sell to people who want to buy things from the university. And I mean courses and things like that that may not be you. They may be adults. They may be people that are interested just in learning about something, like the lifelong learning group that's here. There are donors who are very interested in helping people move forward, and that, as I mentioned earlier, ought to be a big part of a campaign. And then there are ways that we should form more safety nets. Sometimes people start with all the best opportunities and resources that they think they would need to be able to complete a college degree, and something happens. And this is not that uncommon. Is you start, and then a parent loses a job. A parent passes away. You find out that your other brother or sister can't go because you're going. And there ought to be a system in place here that knows your stories as they come up like that, and don't allow you to just fall by the wayside without some kind of a safety net. And those kind of support systems ought to be in place for you to have academic success. You ought to get the right kind of advising. You ought to have people who are making sure that if you're having trouble, you're getting the tutoring and the mentorship. That's, I think, a part of what a university ought to put in place versus just thinking only about tuition models.
I'm a transfer student from the University of Michigan. Here at FAU, I'll have some classes that are drastically more difficult than other classes. One has had a test bank for 15 years, and one, only 15 of us are passing. So, as president, how would you regulate that? How would you make sure that we're all receiving the same difficulty level, we're all receiving an honest education?
That's a good question. I think a president has a responsibility to work, obviously, with the deans and the department chairs to carefully monitor those situations where an unusual number of students are showing up as not being successful. And then where's the root cause? You know, if some reason that one section of a course, 70% or 80 or 90% of the students are passing, the other ones, very good students, 20% pass, there's a problem. There's either a problem in delivery of the information and it's not being understood well, or there's a problem in the rigor of the information relative to what the person should know at that stage of career. And you would expect a department chair to work to complete whatever evaluations are appropriate to ensure that doesn't happen.
So we have a huge problem with graduation rates at FAU. So any type of detailed plan, if you become president of FAU, how you would battle that issue?
Well, it is a big problem, and you all have the challenge of if we don't address that problem, the funding pressures are going to come and maybe even restrict some of the funding that comes to institutions who can't meet the performance expectations. So it's got to be one of those things that a president would address right away. It can't be something we're still talking about in a year and nothing's been done. It ought to be on the top of the priority list. I'd love to understand more, you know, when you go down and look inside of that statistic to figure out what is it that is being actually counted, and are you being penalized as a university for something that maybe you're trying to do for the right causes, but the population of people can't possibly succeed in that particular metric. You can also put a very comprehensive support system in that encourages you to succeed and gives you support so that if you have a problem, there's a safety net. If you're a single mom and nobody knows, how can they help you? But if there's somebody in the scholarship office who is alerted by the Academic Success Center that this really great kid we've got has a problem, she's going to drop out. Is there a scholarship available based on her need and a donor interest that could help support that person so that they can go on and succeed?
2011 and 2012, we had 2 incidents on campus where students were actually robbed at a weapon, like with a weapon, in these rooms in the Arts and Letters building. And just this past year, they only put card access systems for the students to be able to access the practice rooms that were music majors. But there's still no security on that location, and for 2 weeks after, they only had cops just doing rounds. How do you plan on enhancing security on campus?
One of the things we've done, and I don't know, maybe here you may be able to answer, is there are security cameras. So we have, the whole campus is not covered by security cameras, but the high use zones are covered by security cameras. That doesn't stop somebody from doing something as much as it may be a deterrent. You probably can speak more to how you would address a situation like that. I mean, our security of our students has to be, and I'm sure is here, a high priority. We've had challenges like that too. We have people appearing on campus who don't belong on campus, who do things on campus that if you can't catch them, it's just like being out in the rest of the world. You've got a real problem and there's no solution. I mean, we do simple things like if we know who somebody is on campus who's been causing problems, their picture goes up, there's an email alert that goes up to try to help get people to find that person and be able to make sure that you don't have repeats of those kinds of situations.
So how do you plan on getting involved with the students? Like, what's your way of contacting students? What ways have you used in the past? What ways would work for FAU?
But I love the advances of better and better computer systems for the university, information systems, broadcast systems. But I think that the university should have a way of constantly communicating to very large numbers of students. Filtered communication, and you would have to be the filter. It would wear you out. Coming to you with this and this and this, you need to let them know this. But to be able to come to you and say, what do we need to make sure that we contribute to the campus as a whole so that they understand what's going on with this issue or that issue? How do we get more students at the games? What can we do that causes that stadium to be full and enjoyable so that people know this opportunity exists to participate in something on campus? And you all probably have a lot of those vehicles. I really don't know all the ways that student affairs or other people provide information directly to you so that you know about all the events on campus.
About your physical presence on campus, do you plan on coming out to a lot of athletic events or Greek life events or stuff like that?
I'm very active. I usually go, at our university, I usually go to the ball games. I circulate and meet all the people I can meet while I'm at the ball games. When they're playing away, my wife criticizes me because I'm screaming at a TV. And she says, what are you doing screaming at a TV? It can't play any better. But I'm a passionate sports fan. You'll see me at a lot of athletic types of things. I was an athlete myself in high school. So you'll hear me use lots of sports analogies of we should do this way because it's better teamwork or those kind of things. I will probably be seen frequently around campus if I can get back into it, jogging, because I've been driving around 35,000 miles, a year, and you don't get to jog much while you're doing that. So I'll probably be exercising on the campus. I'll be here. I'm not going to be someone who disappears or someone who is gone or not available. If I'm gone, I'll be doing something for the university to try to bring resources back to it.